Hey guys, I'm Mark Bromley. Welcome back. Today we're going to chat about no-show rates. In particular, I'm going to make this relevant to outbound lead generation and some of the key factors that you can look at to improve your show-up rates at sales calls. Because this is a huge factor. Obviously, you might be getting 100 appointments a month, but only 30 of those show up. So if we can move that dial a little bit and increase your show-up rates to at least 50 or 60%, that's going to make a massive difference to your business. So let's talk it through. So firstly, if you are getting a bad show up rate, one thing that you need to look at is the appointment itself. How is that appointment set up? So in other words, what is our messaging around that? Are we selling the benefits of this ultimate sales call? We don't want to frame it as a sales call. Basically, we want to call it needs to be a strategy. There needs to be something worthwhile that they're going to get out of this call for them to agree to it. Now, what can often happen, particularly from cold outreach, is if our caller appointment setter pushes a little bit too hard and the person only accepts the meeting basically to get the person off the phone. That's not what we want. What we want is for the person to agree and see value. So you really need to sell this at this point. So that's number one. Another factor that comes into this is our audience. Now this is sometimes overlooked. So if you think about it, across different industries and even different roles or titles within those industries, they use their calendars more. They're more accustomed to looking through their calendar and seeing what appointments are in there. Now, we've recently worked with a business that's targeted the retail and hospitality sector. Now, if you think about this audience, they're not constantly there. If they're an owner or manager of a retail location, of a hospitality venue, they're not in front of their computer anywhere near as much as someone that might be in professional services. And a lot of their meetings, they're all face-to-face. That's already in their head or sometimes even in their phone. So they're not flicking through and looking at appointments that much. So you've got to be really aware that if your audience is like this, they need extra attention to get them to the point of actually showing up, particularly if we're talking a Zoom call or something like that. So now if we understand the audience and our messaging is right, the next step we need to do is make sure that we've got a good confirmation sequence in place. I highly recommend at least 3 to 4 emails, an SMS an hour or two before, as well as getting this call confirmed by a caller 24 hours beforehand as well. So you should be able to hit all bases. If you do 4 or 5 touch points between when it's set and when it actually occurs, the better your chances of getting them there as well. And also the length of time between when the appointment is set and when the appointment actually occurs is a huge factor. So if you can decrease this time length, the less likely someone's going to no-show you as well. Because what we often find, if we're booking appointments on a Thursday or Friday, even for a Monday next week, Mondays tends to be the worst no-show rate because it comes after a weekend. So decrease this time, push for 24 to 48 hours, and you're going to drastically improve that show-up rate as well. The other key factor here, and the final key factors, is how you actually conduct that appointment. So in person does work really well, because if you're going to them, the likelihood of them not showing up to their own location is low. However, sometimes people are really hesitant to accept in-person, face-to-face meetings from a cold outreach. So that's a factor there. You're not going to get as many appointments, but the ones that you do get, you physically have to go out to see them, they're likely to actually show up because you're going to them. Now, Zooms tends to be the worst show up. And the reason being is that, again, there's a bit more friction to do that. You need to be on your computer, and sometimes people forget they aren't in front of their calendars, and yeah, you rock up there and 50% of the time they don't show up. That's part of Zoom, unfortunately, but it is a lot more effective way to sell than over the phone. Over the phone, your show-up rate's going to increase, but again, it's harder to sell over the phone. It's harder to build that rapport, see someone, get to know, like, and trust them. So that's the kind of factors that you're dealing with there. I do generally encourage you look at Zoom calls because it is a better close rate, but you do have to work harder to get them there. So guys, those are the key factors that I'm always looking at and optimizing for to help myself and my clients get better show up rates for their calls. Thanks again, and we'll talk soon.